Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boss Babe Blog Podcast. I'm your host, KeTohn, and this evening we are discussing how to have better business peer relationships. So, I wanted to do this podcast because the last podcast we actually, oops, just realized my mic wasn't attached. Let me fix that. Hold on one second. So, I wanted to do this podcast because in our last podcast we were talking about how we can have better relationships with um, clients, how to have stronger relationships with your clients, right? In this podcast, I want to talk about how to have stronger relationships with business peers. So these are just a few things that I have either noticed or executed in my own past that have helped me develop strong professional relationships with business peers. The first tip that I would give is to understand advice, unsolicited advice will not always be appreciated. And also learn to appreciate and just know when it's time to give that advice and insight and when it's time to just sit and let it be what it is. And I say that because you might want to give someone tips and insight and tell them how they might want to run their business, but they may not appreciate that information, not because they don't like you, but because it's coming from you, or because they don't know you, or because they're not in the space to receive it, whatever that reason might be. But the day that I realized that I don't have to go and give insight, tips, and advice to every single person. If someone is wanting that information, they will find me, they will find my network, they will purchase my services, they will sign up for a discovery call. um, that was the day that I started being a lot more productive in my business, because I used to find myself frustrated sometimes, feeling like I gave this information and the individual may not have received it as me trying to help them or support them. Or, they might want to go and now give a reason or justification for why they did what they did, when in reality, I'm just trying to help their business grow. But I had to learn to accept that everybody doesn't want advice or insight. Everybody is not in a place to receive advice or insight. And sometimes everybody is not in a place to even process it. So, really understanding that the difference between giving someone feedback and they didn't ask for it versus just supporting people and showing up in the way that you can, and then allowing them to ask you for feedback, made a huge difference in my productivity, me honoring my worth, respecting my own value as a professional, and respecting my own time. So now when I'm talking to somebody, it's because they're paying me to talk to them about the topic. It's because they wanted to be here. It's because they signed up to be a part of an event. It's because they subscribed or they registered. And that's a different feeling versus just feeling as if people are not really understanding or grasping or appreciating what it is that you have to share. So sometimes you have to really pay attention to how you're approaching people and why and what it is that you're approaching them with. That can truly help with having richer business experiences. Another thing that I would say is learn the art and the beauty in direct communication. Sending a message on social media or expecting somebody to respond back to you immediately. This is not realistic. People have a whole life. Learn how to communicate with people directly. Don't make assumptions. I would say stay out of the drama and the gossip. I've seen so many rooms and places where entrepreneurs were talking about other entrepreneurs, and it's such a negative light, and trying to be public about it. It's a waste of our productive time. So when you learn how to just try to find the solution in everything and not to be negative, intentionally negative, you're going to have a much more rich experience when it comes to dealing with other professionals, because people are going to see that you're coming from a great place and you have great intentions, and they're going to receive you more, and they most likely are going to be attracted to you more. So I would say avoiding gossip and negativity, um, learning to listen well. There was one time I was at an event, and this entrepreneur was selling products in the same industry as me, which is fine. But the products that they were selling are products or things that I'm providing for myself right now, right? So during this time, she spent a whole, I want to say like 5, 10 minutes going on and on about why I needed to purchase this specific product or service that she was presenting. And not once in that conversation did she ask me what my needs were, or what I wanted, or what I was interested in, or what could help me. Not once in that entire conversation. We have to be better listeners. Sometimes we're only listening when we think it's money is coming out of it, or when it's a customer or a client. We don't always practice being great listeners with other entrepreneurs. They are still clients, they are still leads, they are still potential shoppers. And so in that moment, she really had multiple opportunities to ask me, what are you interested in? What are you needing? What are you looking for right now? How could I support your business? She didn't ask any of that. She just went into why I needed to purchase the service. And when I purchase a service, she'll reach out to me. And after I purchase the service, visit her website. And when I purchase the service, we can go out to eat. And it was just repetitive, like trying to sell why I need to buy this. And I guess make me feel like if I buy this, I'll be able to do these X, Y, and Z. But nowhere in the conversation were we talking about what I'm needing. So a great way that you can have a better relationship with entrepreneurs is to practice the art of being of service in the best way that you are able to. I'm not saying you have to go out and do things for free. I'm not saying that you have to spend all your time building up someone else's empire while they sit back and do nothing. But what I am saying is that when you walk into a room, don't walk in with your hand out like you're entitled or you're expecting that they're going to do something for you. And also don't walk in, aggressive, trying to shake them into making a purchase with you. Simply walk in as yourself, your authentic self, and ask questions. What kind of support are you looking for right now? What are your goals right now? How are you trying to grow your business? What are ways that I can help strengthen your business potentially? And you listen to what they have to say and let them know. Some of these things I may not be able to, complete or pursue, but some of them I might be able to support you in. And if I can, I most definitely will. So tell me more about your mission. Tell me about what's important to you. Tell me about where you're trying to be in the next 5 years. Talk to me about where you go to promote your business. These are questions that you can ask to really assess an entrepreneur and understand where they're at. A lot of times, I hear entrepreneurs complain about their time being wasted, but then I listen to their approach and I realize your time was wasted because you wasted it. Because instead of asking questions to assess who it is you're talking to and what they are about, you went straight into trying to sell a service or a product. And then when you finally got them sitting down with you and you realize they're not interested, you're feeling like your time was wasted when in reality, you didn't ask enough questions to allow them to show you what they're about, or you weren't transparent enough. Sometimes I see that on both ends of entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurs that's trying to get the deal or the purchase from another fellow entrepreneur, instead of them being direct and transparent, they keep things back because they're hoping that after talking to them a little bit longer, it's going to make somebody purchase. I promise you, that's not going to make somebody purchase unless they really wanted the product anyways. But if I didn't know, hello, thanks for joining from the UK. I appreciate you. But if I didn't know about this product, I wasn't looking for it, I wasn't worried about it, and you're not being transparent with me about what this is, why you're here to talk to me, just being straightforward and honest and direct. By the time you get to the point where you start to be direct, my brain has already checked out, and I'm ready to go. Or I'm already ready to go before we even get there. I'm ready to move on because I feel that. So don't try to withhold information. Don't try to do that inauthentic small talk thing where it's like what they say, you small talk and then you sell and then you small talk again. Don't do that. Just be transparent with people. Have genuine and real conversations and ask them questions about themselves. People want to share about their vision. They want to share about their mission. And I don't blame them. I love sharing my vision and my mission too. So when you're talking to someone and you want to know if they're the right client for you, don't try to sell to them. Try to learn from them, learn about them. That information will tell you if it's even worth you continuing because maybe y'all want two different things. So it wouldn't make sense for you to continue trying to sell to this person. And that's why asking questions is extremely important when it comes to knowing, who your target audience is, how to find them, and also who your target audience is not, and how to release them so they can move on to the next person. So those are some of the ways that I feel we can have better relationships as entrepreneurs. Another way we can have better relationships is if we stop being so darn passive aggressive um, and negative Nellies sometimes. I think that because entrepreneurship can be a very stressful road for some people, sometimes people aren't in the best of moods. But if you want people to buy into you and be excited about you and your presence and what you have to offer, you have to learn how to actually make people light up. And sometimes people are just very miserable with how they speak to other individuals, how they carry themselves. Practice uplifting people. Practice having something positive to say. Practice offering value. Like I said earlier, I saw a post where somebody was advertising their business, and somebody came underneath the comments and started heckling and just having negative things to say. And they were like, "This is stupid." This even happened to me where I was promoting something and someone said that it was a dumb idea, and it ended up being a wonderful idea. But because a lot of people benefited from it and requested it again, but instead of spending that energy doing that, you could have spent that energy saying, great job on promoting your business, having enough courage to promote your business. Here's some of the services that I might be able to help you with. Or even, do you need anything? Do you need any support on this mission right now? Would you like any insight or advice? You know, just asking. And then another thing too, oh, hold on, guys. I think I did my hair and I used oil. And unfortunately, think the oils ran in my eyes. But asking, can you be of service? And then another thing too is not being angry when people don't want that service, because it's just asking. Like, hey, would you like some insight? Would you like some feedback? And if they say no, that's okay. Let them say no. Leave it there. Don't try to force it on them. Don't get mad at them because they don't want it. And don't try to give people unsolicited business advice. I've had people try that, and also I've seen them do it. Just leave it alone. If they don't want it, they don't want it. Let it go, because someone else will appreciate it. So just find someone who really wants to hear it by asking them if they want to hear it, and then provide it. But I think those are some ways that we can have more enriching business peer experiences. Just practicing being better humans, learning about somebody else, being positive when you see them trying something, uplift. Somebody made a post about an event, and then a person came in the comments and was like, oh, can't go, sorry, have to do this. Who cares? If you couldn't go, why couldn't you just put underneath, oh, this is wonderful. Let me know if you have any more. Or, oh, this is wonderful. Let me tag 3 people who might want to go. Or, oh, this is wonderful. Keep up the great work. Something. But just really ask, just put yourself in their shoes and ask yourself, what would I want in this situation? And also ask them what they want and what kind of support they could use, because what you need might be different from what the next person needs. But we could practice doing that a little bit more as entrepreneurs. We can have much more enriching experiences that lead people to being excited about us and our mission and wanting to learn more and wanting to shop and wanting to support. People ask me how do you get all these connections and how you know all these people, and tell me how you built it. Being a positive person, being an uplifting individual. When I saw someone posting something, liking the post, if it's not something that's my cup of tea, scroll. I don't have to give them a whole 10 paragraphs as to why they'll never succeed in life and all that other stuff that people like to do. Just move on. It's free to be positive, and it actually costs you less than to be negative and have to put that negative energy into trying to bring someone down because you don't feel good about yourself or whatever reason it is. But those are things that can be stopping you from having great entrepreneurial relationships. Just something to consider. Other things, I would say practice active listening and active reading. Like, I've had a time where I've told an entrepreneur, okay, hey, text me here. They never text me there. They send messages to different platforms, and then they come back expecting me to know which platform they sent it to. I have multiple social media pages. We have multiple communities on different platforms: Facebook, Patreon, Instagram. Those are just a few of the names. So if I say, hey, call me, text me, just listen to what I'm saying. Call me and text me. But people don't practice active listening anymore. They just kind of do what they want to do. And then they get mad when people don't go along with their system. We have to be a little bit better at practicing active listening and letting people be who they are, and not being mad if somebody doesn't want your advice or insight. Just keep it moving. In the beginning, for me, when I was trying to give people insight to support them and I felt like they weren't really appreciating it, it was frustrating. But then I realized that I was doing it to myself. They never asked me for that advice or insight. They never tried to force me. Nobody put, a weapon to me and said, hey, give me this information. I was trying to do it because I wanted to be helpful. But what I failed to realize at that time was I'm most helpful in places where I am wanted and I am received. So I don't need to force anything on a person. I can just continue to be my great self, and people who appreciate that and want that will come to receive that. But when I am trying to push it on someone, they are not going to receive it because they weren't asking for that anyways. Whatever their reason might be, they weren't asking for it. So when you're able to realize that, you will save a lot of your time as a professional, and you'll also run into more people who genuinely want to hear from you. I went from trying to give people advice and trying to show them why what they're doing, it's hurting their business, to walking into rooms, not saying anything, and people directly seeking me out to ask me questions about branding or about resources or about things that are in my industry. Now, people want that insight from me. Now, people come out to listen to me speak about these things. Now, people show up to my events online, in person, to learn more about this. Now, people value and appreciate that. And the difference is that I stopped chasing and looking to try to help people, and I started to focus on being intentional about who I was helping and where I was placing myself. And by doing that, I found the crowd of people who genuinely valued and wanted to be a part of what it is that I have to provide. As a service provider, as a community leader, um, that was the difference. So that's another one. And then another thing we can do to have better relationships as business peers is we can learn how to take accountability. Um, I was talking a little bit about this in our previous podcast with Javon about how sometimes people want us to be more than partners, more than peers, more than friends. They want us to be their parents. In this world, I'm noticing we have a trend of people not wanting to take accountability and trying to push things onto other people and make it their problem. Like, for example, um, what's a good one? Okay, maybe you're running late to an event, right? And instead of you just being honest and saying, you know what, I lacked proper planning skills, this is my fault, you go and try to blame it on the event host, and then you try to go get your money back and you tell them, you're wrong for this, you're late, you're this, you're that. When in reality, who made the decision to purchase the ticket for the event? You did. Who made the decision to show up to the event? You. Who made the decision to have those, bumps in the road instead of planning properly so that you could prepare and be on time for this event? You did. But instead of us having that accountability and leaning inward to work out these kinks and problems around us, we look and we try to find somebody to point it at. And I partially feel like social media is to blame, but the other part of it is a culture that we are in now where we just tell people they're right even when they're not right because we're afraid of being canceled. And and in business, because you're dealing with your business peers, a lot of people don't say anything because they don't want to be unprofessional and they don't want you to go and run and say something negative about them. But we got to learn how to take accountability for our own actions and how we show up or how we don't show up, and stop trying to make that someone else's problem. Um, Another example, maybe you have a essay that's due and the deadline is on Friday. Well, Saturday comes and you haven't turned it in. You knew that you had this essay 3 weeks ago or a week ago. You never turned it in. You waited until the last minute to turn in your essay. Then, when the essay deadline is closed, you say something like, oh, it needs to be open. I had personal things going on. This was going way too fast. We got all of these reasons in the world why it is not on us for our actions and our decisions, and why it's on the next person when we had the capability to choose whether or not to do this or to do it. We choose, we prioritize, and then we get the results that we get. And instead of being accountable, we try to point fingers at other people that have nothing to do with our own personal decisions. I had someone purchase something and then say, okay, I need this quick. I need this quick. You purchased it today. You're going to get it within the next 1 to 8 business days. But you don't get it when you want it. You get it 1 to 8 business days, which is when it said it was going to be purchased, when you were going to get it. This was a business owner, by the way. And keep in mind, I had been prompting this service way before it was purchased. Now, why they waited to purchase it, that's not my business. I'm not entitled to that information. But the reality is, you purchased it today. So now your 1 to 8 business days starts today. If you really wanted this service and you really needed these things done, that means planning says we got to purchase this 2 weeks before so that when this day comes and you want it done today, it's already done because you purchased it 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago. Accountability. We knew the deadlines, we knew the time frame, but for some reason, when we got the results, instead of looking inward and saying, this is where I can plan better, we try to go and make it someone else's problem when it relates directly to our decisions, our decisions, our lack of decisions, whatever it might be. So that is a very draining personality to be around. I can promise you it is. And as entrepreneurs, we're often trying to be around people that pump us up, that get us excited, that uplift us, that make us feel like, just fired up about what it is we're doing. It won't be people who don't take accountability, because usually those people are sitting in circles talking about how nothing's their fault and how everything's just going terrible. And they're never talking about what they could have done to prevent it or how they could have done better in that situation. So you got to take accountability if you want to attract other people who take accountability. And another way that you can have a very enriching, this is my last tip that I'm going to share, but another way you can have a very enriching business peer relationship experience is by being the support that you want to see. Be the support that you want to see. Because when you show up and you do the things that you say you're so passionate about, you will see that support. I've had entrepreneurs say things like, I'm always supporting people, but nobody supports me back. And then I sit and I observe and I watch and I just pay attention. And I realize some of these things they're complaining about, they're doing it themselves. So if you want to see a higher return on investment, start practicing the things that you want other people to do. Start being that example. I personally wanted to be around people who put their money where their mouth is and want to invest and shop with small businesses. So what did I do? I made sure to start looking for small businesses to shop with. I promote small businesses nonstop. When I'm on a live, you're going to see at least 1 to 3 to 4 products from a small business. My necklace is coming from Bling with Shell. My dress is coming from Bella Boutique. My lipstick is coming from Carlita Cosmetics. The 2 pairs of boots behind me are coming from Bougie Steps Boutique. So this is just an example, but being what I want to see is what gives people this urge to want to give me that respect as an entrepreneur, as a professional, why they're so excited, why when I get on calls with people, they tell me, I've been watching you here and I'm just excited to do X, Y, and Z. No matter what role it is that they're coming to play in my life or in my business life, they are excited and they are passionate about it and they're fired up about it. And that's because I practice being the support that I want to see. I want to see people who just want to uplift me and are not jealous and are not negative spirits and don't always have something negative to say every time I succeed. So guess what? When I see peers around me or my clients around me succeeding, I make sure to tell them congratulations. I make sure to share a post. I make sure to like it. I make sure to tag it. I make sure to send it to somebody else in a DM. I make sure to bring some level of positivity to them because I understand how hard they're working behind the scenes. And I also understand how much negativity they probably had to endure just to get to where they are today. So that's the kind of support I want to see. And that's the kind of support I'm going to give. I want to be around people who are uplifting and positive, who are not messy, who are not intentionally trying to bring someone down, who are not always trying to shame somebody, who are accountable for their own actions and not trying to blame their actions on the next person. That's what I want to be around. So that's what I'm going to be. So when I'm doing something that is affecting me, I'm not going to go try to blame the next person. I'm taking accountability for my actions because I want to be around accountability based individuals. So if you want to have a better experience with business peers, be the support that you want to see. People are going to be attracted to that. And you're going to get great people and not so great people attracted to that energy. But guess what? When you are that, you're going to get both. When you are not that, you're probably not going to get both. You're probably going to get one crowd, and that's going to be the people that are on the same level or low frequency. But when you are of that high quality caliber of support that you feel people should be giving, you are giving that yourself. You're going to receive good and bad people attracted to what it is that you do. And that's where you get to take accountability and ownership for who you choose to be around, what platforms you choose to join, what conversations you choose to be a part of, what platforms or events or updates you choose to share. That's all going to be up to you. So hopefully this podcast helps someone out there that's trying to navigate their business peer relationships, have better experiences. Oh, and then one last tip, one last freebie. Um, Make sure you pick up your own weight. If you get into friendships and relationships with other entrepreneurs, don't be that person that's always trying to make someone do the work for them because you're going to miss out on great friends and great peers in the process of that. It's very draining trying to pull a sled with somebody sitting in the sled drinking a dirty martini. while you're pulling it on your back by yourself. That is a very draining experience. So eventually, they're going to stop pulling the sled. They're going to leave you sitting in the sled while you're sipping on your martini, and they're going to go find somebody else who's pulling the sled with them. So make sure that when you find high quality individuals, you are not taking their time, their expertise, their hard work for granted, because at the end of the day, no one is put on this earth to be your assistant. They can assist you, they can support you, but they're not put on this earth to serve you or assist you. You need to go and do that work for yourself, and don't take them for granted. Because when you really do need their support and you need them, you want to be able to call on them and know that they're going to do their best to show up, versus calling on them and know that they're going to be avoiding your calls because you're always asking for things that you can do yourself. So that's the last piece of advice that I'm going to give this evening. We might be able to revisit this again. Let me tell you what our next podcast conversation is going to be. Oh, actually, I take that back because I forgot. We have a couple of podcasts with me by myself, and then we have another group discussion. So I'll tell you what our next group podcast discussion is going to be. Just give me one moment. The next group podcast discussion happening on June 5th at 7 p.m. is going to be, what advice do you have for entrepreneurs to let them have better relationships and experiences with people that they hire as contractors? I'm extremely excited about this topic because I myself am a contractor. So I get to share insight that will help you as a professional, depending on your industry and what you're doing, with having better relationships with contractors, and most importantly, having more productivity. Not just about the relationship, although the relationship is important, it's about the productivity that we could achieve together when we are on the same page and we stay solution oriented and we have an understanding of one another. So if you would like to be a part of that conversation, you can visit our website and click on our events page and join us there as a guest or as a panelist, whether you're in the directory or not. And then if you would just like to listen, then you can listen to it on our podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you guys again at the Boss Babe Blog Podcast. Bye-bye.